Constitution, forget what the media want you to believe, but instead ask one question. Ask for your family. Do you want your children paying for a human right for the rest of their lives and their children's lives after? That's the only true question that needs to be asked.
We're raising very sharply the issue and the scandal that is Irish water.
Earlier this year, anti-water protesters in Cork entered the council chambers in protest of their posters advertising marches and rallies being taken down. The scenes that unfolded were unexpected.
No, there's two men locked in there now. There was a fire.
Yeah, they locked with a key. You can't get out.
No emergency?
No emergency exit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Guardian, there's no emergency exit here. They're locked in. Health and safety.
It's not a peaceful protest when someone comes in here that is not allowed into the council chamber against our standing orders, breaks into the rooms. There was about 20 of them one night when I was there chairing the meeting. They just shouted and roared and read out some kind of a declaration and totally disrupted the meeting. You couldn't hold a meeting under those circumstances. As well as that, there was a crowd in the gallery shouting and roaring as well, taking videos and just disrupted the meeting. They wouldn't be allowed to do it in the Dole, where government business is conducted. Nor should they be allowed to do it in Cork City Hall, where local government business is being conducted. These people are quite entitled, we're living in a democracy, to put themselves up for election. And if the people elect them, then they're quite entitled to be in the council chamber and to contribute to the debate. But they're not entitled, under any circumstances, to break in and disrupt the meeting. And it did cause terrible hassle to us.
The People's Convention describe themselves not as a political party, but as a movement. They believe in the empowerment of the people, and their guiding principles are set out in the Constitution.
There's a narrow elite making all decisions in our name, decisions made in our name that we have no part in making, and that's what's fundamentally wrong. That's what the People's Convention, that's the analysis we've produced. We think it's dead solid. Anybody dispute it, tell us that we are the decision makers.
If we go back into the past, the 19th century, we go back 150 years, certainly there is evidence of the Irish as a group or as a society that did engage in extensive protest.
I think the issue around Irish water probably has come to represent the disaffection in which people hold politics in Ireland today, because it represents dictate, vulgar bonus cultures, lying through the media, bullying, frightening tactics, arrogance, imposing policy is what it's about.
Ireland is a democracy. Citizens have a right to protest. They probably also have a responsibility to protest safely. In terms of the way at one point it looked like the protests had become, they'd really stepped up a gear and certainly a small element had come to, that probably was not good for the water protest. There is an innate conservatism that we see in the kind of Irish public.
The biggest issue for me, the single biggest thing, would be privatisation of a natural resource. When you look at what's happened in other countries around the world, when the water is privatised, it's the poor that suffer. So in Detroit, for instance, there's 40% of black families that are having their water shut off at the moment. 2 generations ago, when they brought in the meters, that wasn't an issue. People thought, it's just a couple of $100, it'll be fine. And then they find after a couple of generations of having the meters in, the bills just go up sky high because there's private companies involved in making a profit. I think anywhere where you have a private company that can make a profit out of something, people get squeezed.
As we get closer to an election, I don't think it's necessarily the case that water goes away, but a whole load of other things are going to come onto the agenda, like the overall tax balance, spending, public sector pay has started to move on to the agenda, and all of that is going to, they're all going to be competing against each other for airtime and for the attention of politicians and groups that are participating in kind of the political life of the country. So I think it's almost inevitable that water will get less airtime. That's not to say that it has been resolved or diminished as an issue. I just think that elections are about lots of issues.
Aside from the wider issue of the water charges, the conflict between Cork City Council and the People's Convention in relation to the erection of posters appears to be escalating.
So the city is actually threatening us with fines. They want us to go over and pay. It says, payment of £150 fine may be forwarded to the above address. Please quote the reference for correspondence. They're asking us to pay them money. I mean, it beggars belief.
As far as I'm concerned, the full rigours of the law apply to them the same as everybody else. That's all I can say.
Folks should be moving on in about 10 minutes' time.
The upcoming general election will undoubtedly dominate our political landscape in the months to come. What does the future hold for Irish water? Through mass demonstrations, do protesters have the ability to effect real change?